I've heard this narrative that Shedeur Sanders should just ask for a trade, or Shedeur Sanders should just go and ask to be released from the Cleveland Browns so that he can latch on to another team, so that he can learn a whole entire playbook, so he could be behind another veteran quarterback somewhere else. I'm going to tell you why that's a loser's mentality. If you are Shedeur Sanders and you truly want to be legendary, what better place than go to the place where quarterbacks go to die, the graveyards of quarterbacks, the mistake on the lake, the Cleveland Browns. That should be the place you want to go. If you don't want to go there, you don't want to thug it out, you don't want to go through trials and tribulations in Cleveland, why would you want to go somewhere where it's easier? That doesn't make any sense. If you're a 5th round pick and everybody has been trashing you, saying that you're not that legendary, you're not that special, if Shedeur does great things in Cleveland, Ohio, in Cleveland, like I said, the graveyards of quarterbacks, the mistake on the lake, factory of sadness, whatever moniker you want to bestow upon my Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Clowns, which is, that one stings right there. If you say the Cleveland Clowns, you know you're getting to a Browns fan. I'm not about to get all emotional about it, but I'm just saying, man, the Cleveland Clowns, that's a little, you're going a little bit too far if you're saying that. But let's get back to the main thing. Shedeur. And I heard Skip Bayless say this on the arena. He was saying, well, the Miami Dolphins, if he gets a fresh start somewhere else, he can do magical things. A fresh start somewhere else? Miami? Wasn't that the same place where they were asking for Mike McDaniel's head earlier in the season? Turns out all they had to do was fire their inept GM, and it turns out the players actually like playing for Mike McDaniel. They've won 5 of their last 8 games before they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, they're playing in cold weather. What do you expect them to do? They're the Miami Dolphins. But, yeah, Miami, they have Tua down there. Whatever you think of Tua. Mike McDaniel. 6 and 8, they're tied to Tua. He signed a big contract, 200, I don't know the exact figure, $210 million guaranteed or something like that. I think altogether, and like 150 of that guaranteed. So they're tied into Tua. So you want Shedeur to come into another situation with a quarterback making a lot of money, and then he's going to sit behind Tua, and then Shedeurians are going to be like, well, he should be starting over Tua. It's just going to be a hamster wheel. There is not a single team Shedeur could have went to and started games in 2025 outside of Cleveland, maybe Las Vegas, and probably the New Orleans Saints. Not the New York Giants, because they selected Jameis Winston, and they picked up in free agency Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. So New York wasn't going to be a landing spot. Let's say they did draft Shedeur with the Giants. He would have been QB3, just like Jackson Dart was. Maybe he gets his chance this season. Maybe he doesn't. He's just in the same situation with quarterbacks that are actually better than the quarterbacks that were in front of the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cleveland Browns. So if you start actually analyzing this situation, you actually take emotions out of it. All you Shedeurians that aren't Cleveland fans, and you guys have made it abundantly clear, I'm here for Shedeur. Okay, you're here for Shedeur. I'm here for the Cleveland Browns, and I'm also here for Shedeur Sanders. So let me just reason with you. I posed this question in the summertime, and people were talking about the Raiders. So you want Shedeur to go to the Raiders? He would have been in a very similar position with the Raiders, an inept organization with a quarterback in Geno Smith that's a veteran quarterback. He's not starting in Oakland. Oh, my bad. He's not starting in Las Vegas either. There is nowhere in the NFL, like literally the only places that he could have went to and maybe competed. Now, it wasn't an open competition like we were led to believe by Kevin Stefanski early in the season. He threw the asinine idea that this was going to be a redshirt year for Shedeur. How asinine does that sound, considering that the Cleveland Browns have gotten the best quarterback play of the entire season from Shedeur Sanders. I don't care what the QBR says. I don't give a darn about the QBR. What do your eyes tell you? If you watch the film and you're not so analytically driven, because those type of people, they watch the game once and then they look at the nerd stats and they formulate their opinion from stats. Instead of people, there are two type of consumers of the football league. There are the nerds who watch the game once and then they just look at the numbers, they draw everything from EPA, they draw everything from analytics, and they form their opinion based upon that. Then there's people like me who are going to watch the game, listen to the game, watch the all 22, and then watch the condensed version. We're going to watch it multiple times so that we can form a more detailed and more structured actual opinion on Shedeur. If you notice, all the people that have negative opinions about Shedeur, they're mainly in legacy media. They're mainly people who don't watch the extra film work. The people who rock with Shedeur are usually former players and people like myself who actually take the time in their week to actually watch the all 22 and watch film breakdown of Shedeur. Shedeur is doing some really good things. He does hold on to the ball too long, but he is making some high level throws that you should be happy about if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, and that is going to build upon going into 2026. But it doesn't make any sense to me, if you are a Shedeur Sanders fan, that you would want him to go to another team. Now, there are rumors that he didn't want to go to the Ravens because of what I just mentioned earlier in the video. If he goes to Baltimore, he's sitting behind Lamar Jackson for the next, 6, 7 seasons? If he goes to Philadelphia, he's sitting behind Jalen Hurts for the next 6, 7 seasons? I mean, I really didn't mean to. I just realized I said that as I was saying it. I did not mean that. I'm 41 years old. I mean, my bad. I apologize. I shouldn't be. But anyways, yeah. So if he went there, he's going to be sitting behind those established quarterbacks for a long time. Doesn't make any sense. Then you got Miami. Miami has Tua, established quarterback. New Orleans and Cleveland was literally like the two landing spots for him. You know, people said Pittsburgh, but, Aaron Rodgers was tied down to this year. So maybe he would have been the quarterback in waiting in Pittsburgh. That would have been a good situation for Shedeur, actually. But they picked Will Howard in the 6th round, so he's their developmental style quarterback that most likely will, I don't know if they're going to do past this year with the Steelers, if they're going to, run it back with Mason Rudolph, or if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back in 2026, or if they hand the reins off to Will Howard, the 6th round pick. I have no idea. But if Shedeur was there, that would have been a very stable organization. That actually would have been a fantastic landing spot for him. I say that as a Browns fan, but just as a fan of football, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the epitome of stability in a franchise. And I just threw up in my mouth, but those are facts. So, you're not going to get any fakeness over here on KSK Sports. I might not like what I just said, but it's the truth, and you guys know it. But, hey, you Shedeurians, you guys want Shedeur to go somewhere that's not Cleveland. Please let me know what team, if the Browns released him or the Browns traded Shedeur, where is he going to land? Like, seriously, what, the New York Jets? You want him with the New York Jets in a eerily similar position to where the Browns are right now, the incompetent organization. So you just want him to go from one bad situation in Cleveland to another bad one with the New York Jets. At least say a good team. At least say something like the 49ers, where he can sit behind and learn from Brock Purdy. But here's the thing. If he does that, he's not going to be a starter. So if you really believe and trust that Shedeur can be legendary, there aren't too many places where he can step in like he did this year and start games and possibly be the answer as a franchise quarterback for a franchise like the Cleveland Browns. Where is he supposed to go? Las Vegas? Las Vegas is in a similar position as the Cleveland Browns. New York Jets, similar position to the Cleveland Browns. They're bottom-feeding teams. What Shedeur needs to do is stay in Cleveland and build the culture up. Build something in Cleveland. Build around him. Not run to another bad situation. What sense does that make? What sense does that make as a 5th round pick that Shedeur Sanders is, whatever you want to believe? I don't believe he should have won the 5th round. I believe there was some collusion involved. That was standard. The facts are he was chosen in the 5th round, which means he doesn't have a lot of leverage, which also means that he needs to go out and perform admirably these last 3 games. I think he's already done enough where Cleveland is really going to take a flyer on him going into next season, whoever the GM and whoever the head coach is going into next season. I think they're going to look at the situation and be like, Jimmy Haslam, whoever he hires, because Kevin Stefanski he's cooked. He's done. He already knows that. He's a lame duck coach. Whoever the next coach is, Jimmy Haslam is going to ask them, what do you think about Shedeur Sanders? That's what they're going to do. Jimmy Haslam understands business. Jimmy Haslam understands that Shedeur Sanders is starting from day 1 of 2026 going forward. And the Browns, they strike gold in the draft again. So they have back-to-back really good drafts. And you got your quarterback of the future on a bargain deal right now. That's a lot. That's something a lot of people, they're not bringing into the fold because they're bringing emotion into it. They're like, oh, he needs to get out of Cleveland. Well, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you are in a really precarious position in a good way. You're in a position where you can possibly have your franchise quarterback and you can properly evaluate him in 2026. And if it does not work out and you're still bad going into 2027, that quarterback class is going to be much better. That quarterback class will have Julian Sand from my Buckeyes, the Ohio State University, and also Arch Manning, who Jimmy Haslam is enamored with. So that suffice to say that they aren't going to pick a quarterback in 2026 because it doesn't make any sense. Because Jimmy Haslam is looking at 2027. He's like, well, if I can bridge the gap with Shedeur Sanders, I can still sell tickets. We can still, win 5 or 6 games with Shedeur. It's entertaining. It's exciting. And we actually look at our actual QB1 of the future in 2027 in Arch Manning. They can trade up and get him. Or if Shedeur strikes gold and they run into a QB1 franchise quarterback in Shedeur Sanders in 2026, they make that determination that he plays well enough to move forward with him. Then you have a couple more years on a bargain contract going into 2027, going into 2028, and then going into the dome era of the Cleveland Browns. So this is shaping out pretty well for the Cleveland Browns. They're going to get from under Kevin Stefanski, who right now is a broken coach. He's not a good coach. They're going to get a new coach. Hopefully, for me, I want to get a defensive coach first. I would love to get Robert Saleh. Get the best offensive mind you can get. I wouldn't even mind Tommy Rees staying for continuity, but Robert Saleh is probably going to bring somebody else in. And then you go from there. They work with Shedeur. They build around him. And he doesn't run away. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't even sound like that's in Shedeur's DNA. That he would want to run away and go to another team. That don't even make any sense. If y'all real Shedeur Sanders fans, why would y'all want him to run away from responsibility and go somewhere else where he's just going to have to work just as hard to get to where he's at right now in Cleveland? That don't make any sense at all. Use y'all brains sometimes. But KSK rolling out. Like and subscribe. And I'm out. Until the next one. Peace.